So in my previous videos, I talked a little bit about the hidden world. I talked a little bit about angels and demons. And I want to give an account of my sighting with what appeared to be a demon. I even doubt this to this day, that I saw this. I doubt it. But I saw it clear as day. I saw it clear as fucking day. And I wasn't the first one who saw it either. Let me give you some background. Or at least for my childhood, I was a cynical atheist type. I thought, well, we're monkeys floating on a ball through space as an accident. Then I got into Blood Over Intent and did Blood Over Intent, and a few of the videos of Quasi-Luminists would say, let's summon demons, and then they'd show the little fucking cartoon character with some kids summoning demons. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's see. Let's see if there's something to be seen. So me and my sister, I was at her house in her basement. I was dressed nice. I had decided that we were going to do this before we even hung out. Dressed in a nice suit, silver suit with bowler shoes on, black and white bowler shoes. And I dressed for the occasion. And what we did was we both sliced open our hands and put our blood on this piece of paper. We wrote, I intend to bring forth heaven on earth. I intend to worship all and exclude none. We did Blood Over Intent together. We didn't post it or anything. This was a private Blood Over Intent. So before I go on, I want to say, in anything spiritual, especially if you're contacting a negative type spirit, you want to be real certain in your intention. That way you don't get mixed up along the way, confused, or driven crazy. Your intention when doing anything like this should never be to harm anybody or to curse anybody or something, because there's a way that could end up coming back on you. So I then looked up on my phone demonic ends, and an end is something that you use to summon a demon. So we went through the list, just saying anything random in Latin without knowing what it meant. Okay? We went through a list of 72 demons, all with their demonic ends, and we said them 3 times each. Now what happened after that? What happened was, in the corner of the room, we saw this gray, not the corner, let me describe this. So we're sitting in a large sort of basement. We have a couch facing a TV, and behind the couch is probably 2/3 or most of the basement. And it's empty save for a bed. At the end of the room, away from the couch, in the center of the room, is a doorway that leads into like a washer room area, or like a storage unit. So the door was open to the storage unit. So we were doing this summoning, and I'm in my phone reading off of these terms, my sister grabs my arm and she says, "Look, do you see that?" And I'm like, "What?" And then I look over and I see this 6'6", gray, almost skinny but like muscular, almost elfish looking thing with pointy ears, and it had pure black eyes, and this thing was just staring at us. And she's still grabbing my arm, clenching it super tight. And I'm like, "I see it." So we start asking it questions. Like, "Who are you?" and stuff. And I don't know to this day the identity of this thing that we saw. Okay? But I'd be safe to assume, to guess, that it was Beelzebub. I mean, this thing, it had wings, but it didn't, if that makes sense. Like, the wings were less visible than the body. And this thing was standing there, and then almost in an instant, without even approaching, it was standing like 6 feet in front of me, behind the couch. Now at this point, my brain sort of started to dissociate. So I was seeing it, but I was also not seeing it, if that makes sense. So it was there. I could see it, but it was like a shadow. At a distance, it looked more detailed, but up close, it was like a shadow. And what do? Well, I'm dressed for the occasion. I take my hand, which is still bleeding a little bit, and I rub some of the blood on my shoes, and I start dancing for this thing, because I had no idea what to ask it or how to interact, what to do. And the room felt heavy, like a crowded room. You know how the air in a crowded room is stiff? So the room felt heavy, like there were a lot more in there, but they weren't as visible. I remember seeing one other, which was sort of like an old man mixed with a goblin that was like a dwarf size. And I recognize him from my demonological research as Belphegor, the demon of laziness. Now, everybody has their own story, you know what, but sometimes I get a little lazy, don't we all? So this demon was sitting on the couch right next to my sister, and I saw it. She started to get uncomfortable and be like, "I'm having a download right now. I feel like they're communicating with me." And she said, "They told me to tell you that you're important," she said to me. And I was like, "Me? Hell, I'm not important. I'm nobody special." You know? But seemingly that was the message, at least conveyed through my sister. There was no talking. There was no communication. We were so astounded to behold them. I asked another question. Are there any female angels? And the answer was no. And then as for demons, are there any female demons? The answer was yes and no. So that was interesting. And this was channeled through my sister, who said that she was getting messages from them. Then, oddly, my sister, and this is way out of left field, says to me that she sees a lion behind me, a lion's head floating in the air. And I recognize this to be Buer, who was the demon who I put my blood on his sigil, because supposedly he helps you work with other demons. But I don't know what the purpose of the lion is. Anyway, my sister then tells me that she can see wings behind me on my back, and that they're huge and blue. And I have no fucking idea. I'm like, what are you trying to gas me up? Like I'm a human. Maybe everybody with their astral body has wings. I don't know how any of that works. But this is just what she said that she saw. Now, this was very draining energetically. Like having them all in the room and stuff was very draining. And my sister said, we have to stop this. I can't do this anymore. So I conceded, even though I didn't want to stop. Because I was like, well, I have so many questions. You know? But the point of this story is put the pieces together. If demons are real, that means God is also real. Or at least I think he is. Again, I'm cynical. I saw this with my own eyes and I still doubt it. But the question remains, what is my purpose? What is their purpose? Did I screw myself out of heaven by doing this? Am I in trouble? You know, because seeing this only led me to believe more in the spirit world. This is my foundational experience. This is the most out there experience I've ever had. There was this, and then there was Metatron's cube in the sun, which I mentioned in a previous video. So I've had a positive and a somewhat negative angelic experience. And I'm like, I don't even care if anybody believes in me about this. I don't even care. But this is my testimony. People, they give you testimonies about near-death experiences. I'm saying I saw something. And I wasn't the only one. I don't believe in shared delusions. I don't believe in that. Here's another thing. My sister and I saw the same entity, not the same entity I'm describing here, but a different entity. We both saw it. It's just that we saw it at different times. So I saw it a couple weeks prior. It looked kind of like the Russian sleep experiment, or like a mummy mixed with a skeleton with like a bulbous, bald head. And this thing was like 6'6", 6'7", and it was standing by the trash can in my living room, in my basement where I live. And I saw this thing, and it was holding up a piece of paper. Now that I think of it, maybe what it was doing was it was calling back to my promise to worship all and exclude none, sort of like reminding me that I haven't kept my word, that I've hated on some people at different points in time. So that's the way I interpret it. But anyways, then I believe it's the night before Halloween, or the night after Halloween, or Samhain, whenever Samhain is. Me and my sister are watching the movie Weapons, where they put the arms down in the triangle, and out of nowhere she's like, I rebuke you, I rebuke you. Get out of here, you're not welcome. Blah, 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 looking at the entranceway to the living room upstairs while we're watching the movie, and I'm kind of like dispassionate towards it. Like, I don't even really look. I didn't see it. We saw the same thing at different times. I asked her to describe it, and she described the same thing I saw weeks earlier. And it had its arms down in the triangle figure, like the movie Weapons. So what we think this is an inversion of the Trinity. Okay? And why it was doing this arm symbol, I don't know. But, it gives me chills just talking about it. So, I very much would like to, in the future, maybe when I'm a little more put together, delve back into that, because I have some questions. Okay? I have some questions for these things about how this world works. But I'd be lying if I told you I'm not scared shitless, even right now at night. Just thinking about it, like, what if it's like one day, surprise, you see it again? You know, I'm just glad that my sister saw it too. So it's like, okay, I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy. We both saw this thing. We both saw two separate entities. And, 3 if you count Belphegor. But this is why I talk about spiritual type stuff on my channel, is because I am the personality of the cynical atheist who doubts what I saw, who doubts the nature of reality as spiritual, who thinks that it's all material, who thinks that when we die, there's nothing. And now I see that it's so much grander than we could have ever imagined. And maybe I saw what I needed to see. Maybe I don't need to interact with this shit anymore. And that's probably the case because this shit is terrifying. I don't want to see some random bullshit in my room some night. No, fuck that. Fuck that. So yeah, but once you open the door to this sort of shit, it becomes apparent that you're fucking with some real shit. And I'm just so utterly convinced that angels and demons are real that it just blows my mind. It blows my mind, absolutely. But the fascination wears off pretty quick, and then the fear sets in, and you're like, oh shit, this is real. This shit turns out to be real. So what I would say, if you don't believe in this shit, first of all, just believe me. But if you really, really got an itch to know, you can go poking around. And you might regret what you find. Okay? But hopefully this experience can bring me closer to God. You know, bring me out of the cynical atheism and out of the demon summoning stuff. But hell, even Solomon commanded demons. You know? So it's like, I don't know. I think God would understand. I just have that morbid curiosity of what the fuck is going on here. But yeah, a few methods for exploring this further would be researching more into the occult. Trying to astral project is another one. Also, protection is important. We did this ritual thing without protection. So I might want to look into spiritual protection and prayer and stuff like that. And turn away from that sort of shit. But I don't know what to make of this. I really don't. I almost need to see it again to believe it. But I'll tell you one thing, I'm not doing this shit without a witness. Lordy, can I get a witness? I'm not doing this shit without a witness. Because first of all, I don't want to be alone. Fuck no. That's scary. Second of all, I don't want to feel crazy by seeing something by myself. Because when we see these things, we communicate about what does it look like. Okay, are you seeing the same thing as me? I mean, the fact that we're both seeing something at all is already like, whoa. And I'll go a step further. I'll say, I don't believe in sacrificing other people or using animals or anything like that. I would only ever use my own blood. And in a previous video, I said use a diabetic needle or a toothpick or a needle because knives are just not it. You know, there's tendons in your hand. You could cut your hand. But I would encourage people who are really curious like myself to poke around, find out. You know, maybe there's more to be learned. I see these spiritual type people online talking about summoning demons or talking about astral projection. I'm like, if you could really reliably contact these beings, if you could really reliably put your soul outside of your body, wouldn't you do some investigation, like some scientific investigation with that? Or are you just satisfied with the one-time astonishment? And then you just greedily, for your own personal astonishment, see this shit and you're like, okay, cool. No, I want an applicable thing. What I want next, and this is kind of greedy, I probably won't get this till I die, but I want to talk to God. I mean, who doesn't? Who doesn't want to go up to him and talk to him, ask him all the questions, and be like, how does this work? Show me what's up, you know? But again, probably won't happen till I die. And I might get a scolding.